Author's point of view.
Asha Bennett had been raised by men who thought love meant standing between her and the world with their shoulders squared. Her eldest brother, Malik, had been 20 when their mother died and 22 when their father followed, and somewhere between grief and unpaid bills, he stopped being just her brother. He became the man who checked her homework, signed permission slips, learned how to braid the front of her hair from YouTube videos, and sat through every parent-teacher meeting with his work boots still dusty from the shop. Darius, the middle one, had handled everything Malik was too serious to touch. He made her laugh when the house went quiet. He taught her how to dance in the kitchen, how to throw a punch without breaking her thumb, and how to identify a lying man by the way he over-explained himself. Between the two of them, Asha grew up loved too loudly to ever mistake neglect for romance. At 25, she was still the baby in their eyes, even if she paid her own rent, worked 2 jobs, and could unclog a sink better than half the men Darius called friends. Their small Atlanta apartment was always full of noise. Malik liked old-school soul music in the mornings. Darius liked yelling at sports commentators like they could hear him through the television. Asha liked pretending they irritated her when, in truth, she did not know who she would be without the sound of them. That Saturday morning, she came out of her room with her curls piled messily on top of her head, wearing an oversized t-shirt that had once belonged to Malik, and fuzzy socks Darius claimed made her look like a confused baby deer. Malik was at the stove, broad back turned to her, flipping pancakes with the same seriousness he used when checking engine diagnostics at the auto shop. Darius sat at the kitchen table, scrolling through his phone and stealing strawberries from the bowl Asha had washed. "You keep touching my fruit, I'm going to start charging you," Asha said. Darius looked up. "You live in my apartment." "I contribute emotionally." "You contribute hair products in the bathroom and judgment." Malik did not turn around. "Both of you hush before I burn breakfast." Asha grinned and walked over to him, leaning her hip against the counter. "You never burn breakfast." "That's because I don't cook with my mouth like some people." Darius pointed a strawberry at him. "That was ugly, man." "It was accurate," Malik said. Asha laughed, bright and easy, the kind of laugh that filled corners. She took a strawberry from the bowl just to annoy Darius and popped it into her mouth before he could protest. Malik finally glanced at her, and the softness in his expression was the same one he had worn since she was a little girl with scraped knees and big opinions. "You working at the center today?" he asked. "Half day," Asha said. "Then Mrs. Bell needs me to watch the twins tonight." Darius groaned. "Those twins are demons." "They are 6. They called me bald." "You are not bald." "Exactly. Evil and inaccurate." Malik huffed, the closest he usually came to laughing before coffee. "Leave those children alone." Asha reached around him for a plate, and for one ordinary second, life was warm and familiar. Then Malik's hand tightened around the spatula. Asha noticed because she noticed everything about her brothers, the way Darius rubbed his jaw when he was nervous, the way Malik's left knee bothered him in the rain, the way Malik sometimes paused now, just for half a breath, like the room had tilted beneath him. "Mal?" she asked. He blinked hard. The spatula dropped. Before Asha could move, Malik's knees buckled. The sound that came out of her did not feel human. Darius was across the kitchen in an instant, catching Malik before his head hit the tile. The chair scraped back, the bowl of strawberries tipped. Red fruit scattered across the floor like little warning signs. "Malik!" Asha dropped beside him, hands shaking as she touched his face. His skin was damp with sweat, his eyes half open but unfocused. "Malik, look at me! Come on, don't do that! Don't you dare do that!" Darius already had his phone out. His voice, usually loud enough to shake walls, came out sharp and controlled. "We need an ambulance. My brother collapsed. He's breathing, but he's not responding right." Asha pressed 2 fingers to Malik's wrist the way Malik had taught her when she was 12 and dramatic about every headache. His pulse was there. Too fast. Too weak. "Stay with me," she whispered, though Malik could not answer. "You hear me? You stay with me." The ambulance came with sirens that split their street open. At the hospital, everything became white lights, cold chairs, and words Asha did not understand fast enough. CT scan, vascular abnormality, hemorrhage risk, specialist consult, neurosurgery. Darius paced the waiting room until a nurse asked him to sit down before he wore a hole in the floor. Asha sat with Malik's wallet in her lap, her thumb rubbing over the worn leather. He'd carried the same one since she was 13. Inside it was his driver's license, 2 emergency credit cards, a faded photo of their parents, and one picture of Asha at her high school graduation, grinning in her cap and gown while Malik stood behind her, looking proud enough to lift the whole world. When the neurosurgeon finally came out, both Asha and Darius stood. Dr. Patel was kind in the careful way doctors became kind when kindness was all they could offer before terrible news. "Mr. Bennett has a cerebral arteriovenous malformation," she said. "An AVM. It's a tangle of abnormal blood vessels connecting arteries and veins. His is located near the brainstem, which makes it complicated and dangerous." Asha heard Darius inhale beside her. "Can you fix it?" Asha asked. Dr. Patel looked at her. "There are treatment options, embolization first, then surgery if we can safely access the area. But he needs intervention soon. If it ruptures fully, it could be fatal." Fatal. The word did not land like a word. It landed like a hand around Asha's throat. "How soon?" Darius asked. "As soon as possible." Asha swallowed. "And the cost?" Dr. Patel hesitated, and that hesitation told Asha enough. Because sickness was not just sickness when you were not rich. Sickness came with invoices, with deposits, with calls to insurance companies that transferred you to departments that transferred you to silence. Sickness came with numbers large enough to make hope feel childish. By the time the hospital financial coordinator sat them down, Asha already knew. Still, seeing the estimate made her stomach twist. The specialist team, embolization, surgery, hospital stay, medication, and post-operative care would run far beyond what they had. Insurance would cover pieces, not enough, never enough. To schedule the first urgent procedure with the out-of-network neurosurgical team, they needed a deposit close to $80,000. $80,000 just to begin saving Malik's life. Darius leaned back in his chair like someone had hit him. Asha stared at the paperwork until the numbers blurred. "We can do a payment plan," the coordinator said gently. Darius gave a humorless laugh. A payment plan for $80,000. "It would not cover the initial surgical deposit," the woman admitted. Asha folded the papers carefully because if she did not do something with her hands, she would start screaming. That night, Malik woke for a little while. His voice was rough. His strength was gone, but his eyes still found Asha first. "Don't look like that," he murmured. Asha sat beside his bed, holding his hand between both of hers. "Like what?" "Like you're planning to fight God." "If he gets my way, that's between him and me." Malik's mouth twitched. "Hard-headed. Raised by you." Darius stood near the window, arms crossed tight over his chest. Malik looked between them. "Don't sell everything. Don't ruin yourselves." Asha's eyes burned. "You don't get to give instructions right now." "I mean it." "So do I." His fingers squeezed hers weakly. "Asha." "No." Her voice cracked and she hated it. "You don't get to raise me, boss me around my whole life, threaten every boy who came near me, teach me how to change a tire, and then tell me not to save you. That's not how this family works." Malik closed his eyes, exhausted. Darius turned toward the window, but Asha saw his shoulders shake once. The next 3 days became a blur of desperation. Darius tried to sell his car. Malik's boss started a fundraiser. Church aunties called with prayers and casseroles. Asha applied for loans, medical grants, emergency assistance, anything with a form and a promise. Every answer was either no, not enough, or not soon enough. At 2 a.m, sitting on the bathroom floor so Darius would not hear her cry, Asha found the website. Velvet Hour. It looked expensive, discreet, private, the kind of site designed for wealthy people who did not want to be seen asking for what they wanted. Adult companionship arrangements. One night. One price. No judgment, the homepage promised. Asha almost threw her phone across the room. Then she thought of Malik hooked to monitors, his strong hands lying still on hospital sheets. She thought of Darius pretending not to panic. She thought of $80,000. Her thumb hovered over the screen. Asha had never been with a man. Not because her brothers had locked her in some tower, though Darius had certainly tried to scare off half of Atlanta. It had been her choice. She'd wanted it to mean something. She'd wanted safety, laughter, warmth, a man who saw her as more than a body and less than a burden. But life had a cruel way of turning sacred things into currency. By sunrise, she had created a profile with a false calm she did not feel. She used her real first name because lying completely made her feel like she was disappearing. She uploaded a simple photo, no heavy makeup, no pretending to be someone else, just Asha Bennett, with her deep brown skin, full mouth, dark eyes, and curls loose around her shoulders. For her description, she wrote, "I'm not here to play games. I need one arrangement, one night with discretion and respect. If you want someone obedient and silent, I'm not her. If you want someone honest, I can be that." She stared at the words for a long time. Then she pressed submit. By breakfast, she had told Darius the lie. "A live-in nanny job?" he repeated, suspicious. Asha poured coffee she did not want. "Yes." "In Oregon?" "Yes." "For rich people?" "That is usually who pays live-in nannies well, Darius." He narrowed his eyes. "Since when do you want to go to Oregon?" "Since Oregon decided to pay me enough to help Malik." That shut him up, but not for long. "What family?" "A private one." "What's their last name?" "Blackwood." He typed it into his phone immediately. Asha snatched the phone from his hand. "Hey! You are not background checking my employers like you're the FBI." "I could have been FBI." "You cried during Finding Nemo." "That fish lost his son." Asha laughed despite herself, then quickly looked away before the laugh broke into something else. Darius softened. "Little bit," he said, using the nickname he only pulled out when he was worried. "This feels fast." "It is fast." "You sure?" "No." She was not sure of anything except the fact that Malik was dying, and money stood between him and a chance to live. So she lifted her chin the way Malik had taught her. "I'm sure." Across the country, deep in the forests of Oregon, Ronan Blackwood ruled a kingdom that did not call itself one. The Blackridge Pack estate sat between mountains and pine, hidden from human roads by distance, money, and old magic. To anyone who accidentally wandered too close, it looked like a private family property belonging to people with too much wealth and no desire for visitors. To werewolves, it was the seat of one of the most powerful packs in North America. And Ronan was its alpha. He was not the kind of alpha people loved easily. They respected him. They obeyed him. They feared him with the quiet instinct of prey, recognizing a predator that had no interest in proving its strength because proof was unnecessary. Ronan Blackwood was 39 years old, 3 days away from 40, and there was not a single person in his pack who could remember hearing him laugh. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and built with the harsh elegance of a weapon made by hand. His dark hair was always controlled. His beard was trimmed close. His golden brown eyes could silence a room faster than a shout. Women looked at him. Of course they did. Ronan was beautiful in the way storms were beautiful from a distance. but wanting him and surviving him were different things. He spoke little, and when he did, his words landed like orders even when they were not meant to. He did not flirt, he did not soften, he did not waste time filling silence for the comfort of others. Pack mothers straightened when he passed. Warriors lowered their eyes. Children stared at him with awe until their parents gently pulled them back. Even the Werewolf Council elders, men and women old enough to have buried generations of alphas, chose their words carefully around Ronan Blackwood. That morning, the council had requested a meeting. Requested was the polite word. Ronan knew a demand when he saw one. He sat at the head of the long table in Blackridge's council room while 3 elders faced him from the other side. His beta, Silas, stood near the wall, expression carefully blank. Ronan's grandmother, Maeve Blackwood, sat near the fireplace with a cup of tea she had not touched. Elder Harrow, gray-haired and narrow-eyed, cleared his throat. "The matter of succession can no longer be ignored," Harrow said. "You are approaching 40, Alpha Blackwood." Ronan looked at him. Nothing else. Just looked. Oh, Harrow's throat bobbed. Maeve took a slow sip of tea to hide whatever almost crossed her face. "I am aware of my age," Ronan said. "Then you understand the council's concern." "No," Ronan replied. "I understand the council's habit of concerning itself with matters outside its authority." Silas lowered his gaze. Not out of fear this time. To hide his mouth. Elder Harrow stiffened. "An alpha of your bloodline requires an heir. My bloodline requires obedience, stability, and strength. I provide all 3. A mate would provide continuity. A mate is not a breeding contract." The room went silent. Maeve's fingers tightened around her teacup. There were moments when Ronan said things that reminded her of the boy he might have been if life had been kinder. Beneath all that iron, there was still a man who understood the shape of wrong things. But then Harrow made the mistake of pushing. "The pack needs a Luna." Ronan leaned back in his chair. It was a small movement. Everyone reacted anyway. "The pack needs secure borders, disciplined warriors, stocked winter stores, and council members who remember they advise. They do not command." His voice remained low. "When I require help choosing a woman to stand beside me, Elder Harrow, I will ask someone who has not buried 3 wives and called each funeral politics." Harrow's face tightened with humiliation. Maeve closed her eyes briefly. There he was. Her grandson. Her impossible, wounded, terrifying boy. After the council left, no one spoke for several breaths. Ronan stood. Silas. "Yes, Alpha." "Double the East Patrol until the rogue sightings are confirmed or disproven. I want reports before sunset, not excuses." "Yes, Alpha." "Mrs. Vale's son is still recovering from his shift injury. Remove him from night rotation." Silas looked up, surprised Ronan had noticed. Ronan's gaze sharpened. Was that unclear? "No, Alpha." "Then move." Silas moved. Maeve waited until they were alone before setting her cup down. "You could try speaking to people as if you do not intend to skin them." Ronan glanced at her. "If I intended to skin them, they would know." Comforting. "You asked to sit in." "I asked to discuss your birthday. The council ambushed me with your wombless future." His jaw tightened. "Do not start." "I have not started. When I start, you will feel hunted." For anyone else, speaking to Ronan like that would have been dangerous. Maeve had earned the right by loving him when he was too broken to be loved neatly. She was the only living person who knew why Ronan had become this way. She knew about his human mother, soft-voiced and gentle-handed, who had vanished from Blackridge when Ronan was 12. She knew about his father, Alpha Callum, whose grief had fermented into cruelty. She knew about the night a boy stopped crying because crying only taught monsters where to press harder. Maeve knew because she had found Ronan afterward. She had cleaned blood from his mouth. She had held his shaking hands. She had listened when he asked, in a voice too quiet for a child, why love always left first. Ronan had never asked again, and he had never laughed again. "You are turning 40, Maeve said. I remain aware. You have no mate. I remain grateful. You have no children. I remain at peace. You have no life outside duty." His eyes flicked to hers. There. A crack so thin no one else would have seen it. Maeve saw it because she had spent nearly 30 years looking for signs that her grandson had not turned entirely to stone. "My life is the pack," he said. "No," Maeve replied softly. "The pack is your responsibility. It is not your life." Ronan looked away first, which was as close as he came to losing an argument. "I have work. You always have work. It is why this pack still stands. And who holds you when you fall?" His expression closed. Maeve regretted the words as soon as they left her mouth, not because they were untrue, but because truth had never made Ronan softer. It only taught him where to build the next wall. "I do not fall," he said. Then he left. Maeve sat alone in the council room long after his footsteps disappeared. By evening, rain tapped against the tall windows of her private sitting room. The forest outside was dark, the pines swaying like old ghosts. Maeve sat at her desk with her laptop open, glaring at the screen as if it had personally offended her. Velvet Hour. The name itself sounded indecent. She was 81 years old. She had survived pack wars, 2 mates, council betrayals, childbirth, widowhood, and Ronan's adolescence. Yet somehow, creating an account on an adult arrangement site felt like the thing that might finally kill her. "This is madness," she muttered. Then she clicked register. She told herself it was not as terrible as it sounded. Then she told herself the truth. It was exactly as terrible as it sounded, but she was desperate. Ronan would never look for tenderness. He would never invite warmth. He would never stumble into love because he did not walk anywhere without first checking for traps. If happiness required him to open a door, he would reinforce the hinges and postguards outside it. So Maeve would open one for him. Just once. If he hated her for it, so be it. He already carried too much hate with nowhere to put it. She scrolled through profiles with increasing despair, too polished, too practiced, too eager, too frightened, to a false. Then she stopped. Asha. The young woman in the photograph was beautiful, yes, but Maeve had lived too long to be impressed by beauty alone. Beauty was common. Warmth was not. This girl looked directly into the camera, not coy, not vacant, not pretending. There was strength in her eyes, humor near her mouth, a kind of stubborn light around her that made Maeve sit back slowly. She read the description. If you want someone obedient and silent, I'm not her. If you want someone honest, I can be that. Maeve stared at the screen. Then, for the first time that day, she smiled. "Oh, Ronan," she whispered, "you are going to despise this." Her fingers moved before guilt could stop them. She sent the offer. In Atlanta, Asha Bennett sat beside her brother's hospital bed when the notification appeared on her phone. The amount made her stop breathing for a second. Enough for the deposit. Enough to begin. Her hand trembled so badly she nearly dropped the phone. Malik slept on, unaware that his little sister was about to cross a line she had never imagined touching. Asha looked at him, at the man who had given up his youth to protect hers. Then she accepted. In Oregon, Maeve closed the laptop and listened to the rain. 3 days from now, Ronan Blackwood would turn 40. He expected nothing. No celebration. No surprises. No softness. and because fate was often most dangerous when helped along by old women with guilty hearts, a human girl from Atlanta was already on her way to change that.
Asha's point of view.
By the time my plane touched down in Oregon, I had lied so many times that my tongue felt heavy in my mouth. I lied to Malik when I kissed his forehead that morning and told him not to worry, because the nanny job was real good money. I lied to Darius when he drove me to the airport and asked for the 9th time if I was sure these rich people were not harvesting organs in the woods. And I lied to myself when I said I was not scared. Because I was. I was scared in a way I could not laugh off, and I could laugh off almost anything. That was what happened when you were raised by brothers who believed teasing was a love language, and emotional breakdowns could be cured with pancakes, prayer, and somebody yelling, "Get up, girl, you're a Bennett." But sitting alone on that plane, with Atlanta getting smaller behind me and Oregon waiting like a dark question ahead, I did not feel much like the bold woman I had pretended to be online. I felt like Malik's little sister, the one he used to carry on his back when I fell asleep on the couch, the one he taught to check the oil in a car because, according to him, pretty doesn't mean helpless, Asha. The one Darius threatened to follow across the country if I did not text him every 2 hours. My phone buzzed the second I switched it off airplane mode. "Darius, landed?" I smiled, even though my chest hurt. Me. "Yes, Daddy number 2. His reply came immediately. "Darius, don't start. Send location, send picture of the family. Send blood type if they look suspicious." "Me, you already know my blood type." "Darius, I know. I was testing you." I almost laughed, but it got stuck somewhere behind my ribs. Then another notification came through. A banking alert. The deposit had cleared. For a few seconds, I just stared at the number. It was real. The money was actually there. Not all of what Malik needed, but enough to start. Enough to make the hospital stop talking in careful voices and start moving. Enough for me to keep breathing. I closed my eyes and pressed the phone against my chest. "Okay," I whispered. "Okay, Malik. We're doing this." I found my suitcase at baggage claim and followed signs toward the arrivals area, expecting a driver with a little tablet and my name typed in bold letters. Instead, I found an older woman standing straight-backed near the glass doors, dressed in a cream coat that probably cost more than 3 months of my rent. Her silver hair was pinned at the nape of her neck, her posture elegant enough to make the whole airport look underdressed. She held no sign. She did not need one. The moment her eyes landed on me, I knew. "Asha Bennett," she said. Her voice was smooth, controlled, and too sharp to belong to somebody's sweet old grandmother. I lifted my chin. "Maeve Blackwood?" "The very same." She looked me over, not in a cruel way, but in a way that made me feel like she was reading details I had not spoken out loud. My curls were loose around my shoulders, my jeans were comfortable, my nerves were not hidden nearly as well as I hoped. Then her gaze softened by half an inch. "Was your flight difficult?" "No, ma'am, just long." "Do not ma'am me. It makes me feel ancient." I blinked. She was at least 80. "Yes, Ma," I caught myself. "Yes, sorry." That time, her mouth almost curved. Almost. She turned without waiting to see if I followed. "Come, we have a long drive." Outside, the Oregon air hit different, colder than Atlanta. Cleaner, too, like the trees had bullied the city out of it. Maeve led me to a black SUV parked at the curb, and a tall man in a dark suit stepped forward to take my suitcase. I held onto the handle. "I can carry my own bag." He paused. Maeve glanced back at me. "Of course you can. Let him do his job before he starts looking useless." The man's expression did not change, but something flickered in his eyes. Amusement, maybe. I released the suitcase. "Thank you," I told him. He looked startled, like people did not say that often around here. Maeve noticed. She noticed everything. The city thinned as we drove, buildings giving way to long roads, wet evergreens, and mountains hiding behind low clouds. The farther we went, the quieter it got. Not peaceful. Quiet. Watchful. quiet. I twisted my fingers together in my lap and forced myself to stop. Bennett's did not fidget. Well, Darius did when women with pretty smiles spoke to him, but that was different. That was a medical condition called being Darius. Maeve sat beside me instead of in the front, hands folded neatly over her purse. "You understand the arrangement," she said. That pulled my spine straight. "Yes. And you understand that my grandson did not request this." I looked at her. That part was made very clear. "He does not know you are coming." I stared. The car kept moving smoothly down the road. I waited for her to laugh. She did not. Mrs. Blackwood. "Maeve. Maeve," I repeated slowly. "Are you telling me this man has no idea his grandmother bought him a woman for his birthday?" Her jaw tightened just a little. When said that way, it sounds crass. It is crass. It is desperate. That is not better. This time the driver made a sound that might have been a cough. Maeve's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror. "Eyes on the road, Silas." "Yes, ma'am." "Interesting." He was grown, broad-shouldered, and looked like he could bench press the car, but he answered her like a boy caught laughing in church. Maeve turned back to me. "My grandson is difficult," she said. "That is the word you are using? It is the polite one." I rubbed a hand over my face. "You said he was strict." "He is." "You said he was private." "Painfully." "You did not say he might throw me out a window." "He would never throw you out a window." I relaxed a little. "He would use the door," she added. I looked at her. Maeve looked back. Then, against every good instinct in my body, I laughed. It came out too loud in that expensive car, but I could not help it. Maybe it was nerves. Maybe it was terror wearing a funny hat. Maybe it was the fact that this elegant, terrifying old woman had just said the wildest thing with a straight face. Maeve watched me like my laugh was something she had been waiting to hear. "Ronan does not enjoy surprises," she said. "Then buying him a woman seems like a bold place to start." Silas coughed again. Maeve sighed. "He will not be cruel to you." "That is not as comforting as you think. He may be cold, he may be rude, he may say very little and make you feel as though every word you speak has personally offended him. Wonderful, a dream man. But he is not dishonorable," she said, and for the first time her voice lost its sharpness. "Whatever else he is, Ronan is not that." Something in the way she said his name made me stop joking. There was love there. Heavy love. Tired love. The kind that had carried too much for too long. I looked out the window as the road curved deeper into the forest. Why me? Maeve was quiet long enough that I thought she might not answer. Then she said, "Because you looked honest." My throat tightened. If only she knew. The Blackridge estate appeared all at once, rising from the trees like something that had been waiting for centuries. It was not a house. It was a mansion pretending to be a castle. Dark stone, tall windows, iron balconies, and warm lights glowing from inside like fire trapped behind glass. The forest crowded close around it, huge pines swaying in the night wind. There were other buildings farther back, half hidden in the trees, and people moving between them with a strange kind of purpose. Men stood near the entrance. Not security exactly. Security guards looked bored. These men looked ready. The SUV stopped at the front steps. I climbed out slowly, taking in the size of the place, the silence, the absence of anything even remotely birthday-like. No cars lining the drive. No music. No decorations. No happy birthday banner stretched across the door. Nothing. I turned to Maeve. "You are sure it is his birthday?" "Yes." "And nobody likes him enough to buy balloons?" Silas's mouth twitched. Maeve gave me a look. Ronan would consider balloons an act of aggression. "Oh, he sounds fun," He is not. At least she was honest. The front doors opened before we reached them. Inside, the estate was even more beautiful. Dark wood floors, high ceilings, a wide staircase, chandeliers that looked expensive enough to make me stand farther away from them. Everything smelled faintly of cedar, smoke, and rain. But it was the people who made my skin prickle. They watched me. Not rudely, not openly enough to call out. But every pair of eyes followed Maeve and me as we crossed the entrance hall. A young woman carrying folded linens slowed down. A man near the fireplace straightened. 2 others near a side corridor stopped speaking mid-sentence. I had been looked at before. I was a black woman from Atlanta. People had tried every kind of look on me. This was different. This felt like they were trying to figure out whether I was dangerous or doomed. I leaned closer to Maeve. Do all rich people stare like this, or is this a family tradition? Blackridge is not accustomed to guests. Clearly. Especially human guests, something in me whispered. I frowned at the thought. Maeve led me up the staircase, her steps calm and certain. Mine were less graceful. My heart had started beating too hard, and every footstep seemed louder than it should have been. At the top of the stairs, the hallway stretched long and dim, lined with portraits of stern-looking people who all seemed like they would disapprove of my outfit and my life choices. Maeve stopped outside a pair of dark double doors. I stopped too. My mouth went dry. Behind those doors was Ronan Blackwood, 40 years old tomorrow. Rich, rude, private, strict, unaware. The man I had flown across the country to sleep with. The man whose money might save my brother's life. I gripped the strap of my purse, thinking of Malik in that hospital bed. Thinking of Darius telling me to call if anything felt wrong. Thinking of the deposit clearing. Thinking of how there was no version of me that could turn around now and go home empty-handed. Maeve studied my face. You can still leave, she said quietly. That surprised me. I looked at her, and for a moment she did not look like a sharp old woman playing with people's lives. She looked like a grandmother terrified she had already gone too far. I swallowed. No, I said. I can't. Maeve nodded once, but guilt moved through her eyes. Then she lifted her hand and knocked. No answer came. She opened the door anyway. And with my heart trying to climb out of my chest, I stepped into Ronan Blackwood's room. The first thing I noticed about Ronan Blackwood's bedroom was that it did not look like a bedroom made for sleeping. It looked like a room where powerful men came to sharpen their anger. Dark walls, heavy furniture, tall windows looking out over the moonlit forest. A fireplace burned low on the far side, throwing gold across the floor, but somehow the room still felt cold. Not temperature cold, spirit cold. Like warmth had once tried to live there and been politely escorted out. Then I saw him. Ronan Blackwood stood near a wide desk with papers spread in front of him, one hand braced against the wood like he had been interrupted in the middle of judging the sins of mankind. He was not old. That was my first ridiculous thought. For a man turning 40, he looked nothing like the tired, lonely grandfather my imagination had tried to prepare me for. He was tall enough to make the room seem built around him. Broad shoulders, dark hair still damp, like he had just come from a shower or a fight, and a trimmed beard that made his face look even more severe. He wore black pants and a half-buttoned black shirt, the sleeves rolled to his forearms. There was a scar near his collarbone, silvered and rough, disappearing beneath fabric. His skin was warm-toned beneath the firelight, his jaw sharp, his mouth firm like it had forgotten softness on purpose. And his eyes? Lord. His eyes were golden brown and fixed directly on me. Not admiring. Not curious. Not even angry yet. Just still. The kind of stillness that made my body understand danger before my mind found the reason. Behind me, Maeve stepped into the room like she had every right in the world to bring a strange woman into her grandson's bedroom at night. Ronan did not look at her. He looked at me. Grandmother, he said. One word. That was all. but the room seemed to straighten around it. I had heard strict voices before. Malik had a strict voice. Darius had a fake strict voice he used when trying to scare children and men under 25. This was different. Ronan Blackwood did not raise his voice because apparently his voice had been born already carrying consequences. Maeve lifted her chin. "Happy birthday, Ronan." His eyes finally moved to her. "My birthday is tomorrow. It is after midnight." His gaze sharpened. "Why is there a human in my room?" "A human. Not a woman. Not a guest. A human." The words slid under my skin and sat there. Maeve's hand touched my elbow lightly, and I realized she expected me to speak. Of course she did. Because apparently this was my life now. I swallowed, squared my shoulders, and reminded myself that I had once faced down Darius after accidentally scratching his car. This could not be worse than that. Probably. "Hi," I said. Ronan stared. "My name is Asha." More staring. "Wonderful." I took one breath and decided there was no graceful way to tell a man his grandmother had purchased bedroom companionship like she was shopping for curtains. So I just said it. "Your grandmother bought me to sleep with you." My voice came out steadier than I felt. "Happy birthday, I guess." Silence. Deep, brutal silence. The fire cracked once. Somewhere outside the room, someone shifted their weight. Ronan looked at me, then at Maeve, then back at me. His expression changed so slightly I almost missed it. Something moved in his eyes. Disbelief, maybe, or offense, or the slow realization that everyone in this room had lost their mind except him. Then he laughed. Not a polite laugh. Not a little sound of amusement. A real laugh. Deep, rough, sudden. It rolled out of him like thunder breaking loose from a mountain, startling enough that I actually stepped back. The sound filled the room, hit the walls, and seemed to shake something awake that had been dead too long. I blinked at him. Maeve went completely still beside me. In the hallway, something crashed. Ronan stopped laughing so fast it was almost frightening. His face closed. His hand curled into a fist on the desk, and for one strange second, he looked as shocked as everyone else. Like the laugh had come from someone standing behind him, instead of from his own chest. Then his eyes found mine again. And all that sudden warmth vanished. "You must be out of your damn mind," he said. There it was. The alpha tone. I did not know why that word came to me, but it did. Alpha, not boss, not rich man, not rude birthday boy. Alpha. My spine stiffened on instinct. "Excuse me?" His gaze dragged over me once, not in a hungry way, but like he was confirming I was truly standing there and had not been invented by stress. "I do not know what my grandmother promised you," he said, each word cut clean and sharp, "but nothing is happening here." Honestly? Relief hit me so hard my knees almost forgot their job. Nothing was happening. No stranger. No bed. No pretending my hands were not shaking. No giving away a part of myself I had protected for years just because life had put a price tag on Malik's survival. I could keep the money. I could keep myself. For the first time since accepting Maeve's offer, air actually entered my lungs. "Good," I said before I could stop myself. Ronan's eyes narrowed. Maeve made a small sound behind me. I cleared my throat. "I mean, not good, like you're not, you know. I'm sure you're very—" I waved a hand vaguely at all of him, which was a mistake because he was very— "You are obviously not struggling in the appearance department." His stare became deadly. My mouth kept going because fear and embarrassment had apparently joined hands and chosen violence. "But if you're saying no, then that's no. I respect that, fully, enthusiastically. Consent is beautiful. I will leave." Ronan looked at Maeve. "Remove her." Maeve's face tightened. "Ronan. Now." The command was quiet. The effect was not. The air itself seemed to press down. My skin prickled. My chest tightened. Even Maeve looked like the word had struck somewhere tender, though she did not lower her head. "I made a mistake," she said softly. "You made several." "Yes." His jaw worked. "This is beneath you," he said. Maeve flinched. Just slightly. But I saw it, and for some reason, it bothered me. Maybe because she had looked so strong until then. Maybe because for all his coldness, there was pain in his voice too. Old pain. The kind that did not bleed because it had hardened over. Ronan turned back to me. "You will be compensated for your travel. Then you will leave Blackridge before sunrise." Blackridge. Not the house. The place. I nodded quickly. "Fine by me." His eyes held mine for one heartbeat longer than necessary. Something passed through them that I could not name. Then he looked away, dismissing me so completely, I almost checked to make sure I was still visible. Maeve took my arm and guided me out. The second the doors closed behind us, the hallway seemed to exhale. 3 people stood nearby pretending very badly that they had not been listening. One woman clutched a tray against her chest. A man in a black shirt stared at the floor like it had become fascinating. Silas stood at the end of the hall with his arms crossed, his expression carefully blank. Maeve looked at them. They scattered. "Fast." I turned to her. "Well, that went horrible." Maeve did not answer. Her eyes were bright. Not crying exactly, but close enough to make me uncomfortable. "He laughed," she whispered. I frowned. "Yes, right before he threatened to have me removed like a suspicious package. He laughed. You keep saying that like it means something." Maeve looked at the closed doors. "In 40 years, she said, voice barely above breath, "I have never heard that sound from him." My irritation faded. 40 years? That was not normal. That was not just strict or private or emotionally constipated. That was grief with roots. I glanced back at the doors too. Inside that room was a man who had laughed once and looked betrayed by his own body for doing it. Maeve faced me then, and whatever softness had touched her disappeared beneath desperation. "Stay." I stared at her. "Absolutely not." "I will double the amount." My heart stopped. She named the number. The hallway tilted a little. Twice. Twice what I needed. Not just the deposit, not just a beginning. Malik's surgery, recovery, medication, breathing room for Darius. A chance. A real chance. "No," I said, but it came out weak. "Asha." "I'm not tricking him," I said quickly. "I'm not forcing myself on a man who already said no. I may be desperate, but I'm not that." "I am not asking you to force anything." Maeve stepped closer. "Stay for 2 weeks. Speak to him. Annoy him if you must. Make him remember he is not only an alpha. If he still wants you gone, you leave with every dollar." Alpha again. There was that word. I should have asked. I should have demanded to know what kind of family used titles like that, and why everyone in this house looked at Ronan like he could command the moon to move aside. But all I could see was Malik's hospital bed. Malik's hand in mine. Malik telling me not to ruin myself for him. Too bad. He had raised me stubborn. I closed my eyes and hated the choice, even as I made it. 2 weeks, I said. Maeve released a breath. "And I do this my way," I added. "No pressure. No lies about what I am. No sneaking into his bed like some discount horror movie." For the first time all night, Maeve almost smiled. Agreed. Behind Ronan's closed doors, something heavy hit the floor. I jumped. Maeve did not. "He heard us, didn't he?" I whispered. Maeve smoothed her coat. "Almost certainly." The door opened. Ronan stood there, colder than winter, and twice as offended. His eyes locked on me. I lifted my hand before I could lose my nerve. "Good news," I said. "I'm staying." His expression promised murder. Mine promised I had brothers, bills, and absolutely nothing left to lose. Ronan Blackwood did not yell when he found out I was staying. Somehow, that made it worse. He stood in the hallway outside his bedroom, all dark hair, sharp jaw, and offended royalty, looking at me like I had personally broken into his house and rearranged his organs. "No," he said. Maeve folded her hands in front of her. "Yes." "No," he repeated, slower this time, like maybe age had weakened her hearing. Maeve did not blink. "She will remain as my guest." "She was purchased." I winced. "Can we not keep saying it like that?" Ronan's eyes cut to me. I shut my mouth. For the moment, Maeve's expression tightened. "She is here because I invited her." "She is here because you interfered." "I am old. Interfering is one of my few remaining pleasures." Silas made the mistake of breathing too loudly at the end of the hall. Ronan's gaze shifted to him. Silas immediately looked at a painting on the wall, like it had become the most fascinating artwork in Oregon. I had never seen grown people so committed to not being noticed. Ronan turned back to Maeve. "Send her away." "No." The word landed quietly, but the hallway seemed to react to it. Even I felt the tension move through the air. Ronan stared at his grandmother. Maeve stared right back. And I realized something important. Ronan Blackwood scared everybody in this house. Except Maeve. And possibly me. But that was only because my survival instincts had been damaged by growing up with Darius. Finally, Ronan looked at me again. "You will not enter my rooms," he said. "Gladly." "You will not follow me." "I have no interest in being murdered in a hallway." "You will not attempt to seduce me." I lifted one hand. "Sir, after that welcome, the temptation is barely survivable." Silas coughed. Ronan's jaw flexed. Maeve's mouth twitched. "I mean it," Ronan said. "So do I." I took a breath, because beneath the jokes, I needed him to understand one thing. I'm not here to force you into anything. I'm not here to trick you. If you say no, it stays no. Something shifted in his face. Not softness. Ronan Blackwood did not look like a man who allowed softness to visit unsupervised. But the hard edge in his eyes changed for half a second. Then it was gone. "Keep her out of my way," he told Maeve. Then he turned and disappeared back into his room, closing the door with the kind of controlled violence that made slamming seem immature. I looked at Maeve. "Well, he's cuddly." Maeve sighed. "Come, I will show you to your room." My guest room was larger than my whole bedroom back home, and cleaner than any place had a right to be. There was a fireplace, a sitting area, a bathroom with a tub big enough to baptize a family of 5, and windows overlooking the forest. It was beautiful. It also felt temporary, in a way that made my chest ache. Maeve paused at the door. "You should rest." "I probably won't." "No," she said, watching me too closely. "I imagine you won't." After she left, I sat on the edge of the bed and took out my phone. 3 messages from Darius. Darius, "You alive?" Darius, "If you don't answer, I'm calling Oregon." Darius, "I don't know anyone in Oregon, but I'll start with trees." I smiled even though my eyes burned. Me, alive. Rich people are weird. The house is huge. No organs harvested yet. His reply came fast. Darius, "Yet is not comforting." Then another message. Darius, "Malik asked if you landed." Told him yes. He said, "Don't work too hard." That one hurt. I pressed my fist against my mouth and breathed through it. Malik was lying in a hospital bed, telling me not to work too hard, while I sat in a mansion because an old woman had paid me to make her grandson feel human. "Okay," I whispered to the empty room. 2 weeks. I was not going to seduce Ronan Blackwood. Not really. Seduction sounded too smooth, too planned, too much like perfume and silk sheets, and women who knew what to do with their hands. I was going to do what Bennetts did best. Annoy a difficult man until he either softened or threw me outside. By morning I had named it Project Make the Alpha Human. I still did not know why everyone called him Alpha, but people in rich families did strange things. Maybe it was old money nonsense. Maybe Oregon had clubs. Maybe Blackridge was a very intense family business with dramatic job titles. Whatever it was, Ronan wore the word like a crown made of knives. Breakfast confirmed it. The dining room was long, elegant, and silent enough to hear butter suffer. Several people sat at the table, but nobody seemed to be enjoying the food. Maeve sat near the head with tea. Silas stood near the wall instead of sitting, because apparently chairs were for people with less trauma. A woman with kind eyes and graying brown hair brought in a platter of eggs. "Good morning," I said. She looked startled, then pleased. "Good morning, miss." "Asha," I corrected. "If you call me miss too much, I'll start looking for my church shoes." Her smile appeared slowly. "Mrs. Vale." "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Vale." A few people glanced over like I had performed a magic trick. Then Ronan entered. Every person in the room changed. Spines straightened. Conversations died before they could even pretend to live. Mrs. Vale stepped back. Silas lowered his chin. Even Maeve became stiller, though she did not look afraid. Ronan did not look at anyone. He moved to the head of the table, dressed in black again, because apparently color had offended his bloodline centuries ago. He sat, accepted a cup of coffee from Mrs. Vale, and opened a folder beside his plate. No greeting. No birthday cheer. No candles. No cake. Just paperwork and emotional frostbite. So I picked up my plate and sat directly across from him. The room stopped breathing. Ronan looked up slowly. I smiled. "Morning, birthday boy." Maeve closed her eyes. Silas turned his face toward the window. Ronan's stare could have stripped paint. "Do not call me that." "Noted." His gaze dropped to my plate. "That seat is not yours." I looked down at the chair. It didn't say anything when I sat in it. "It is kept empty." "For ghosts?" "For discretion." I glanced around the silent room. Discretion seems lonely. His mouth flattened. Mrs. Vale made a tiny sound near the sideboard and suddenly became very busy with the toast. Ronan lifted his coffee. I watched him drink it black. No sugar, no cream, no joy. "You drink that because you like it?" I asked, "or because happiness is against house rules?" He set the cup down. "I enjoy silence." "That must be hard for you, with me here." "Temporary inconveniences are easily endured." "Ah, you think I'm temporary." His eyes narrowed. I took a bite of eggs and gave Mrs. Vale a thumbs up. "These are good." Mrs. Vale looked like I had handed her flowers. Ronan went back to his papers, but I noticed his grip on the folder had tightened. Perfect. Not because I wanted him angry. I didn't. But anger was something. The man had been living like stone so long that even irritation felt like progress. For the next 3 days, I became Blackridge's most cheerful problem. I did not chase Ronan. I did not corner him. I did not flirt unless telling a man he looked like he argued with mirrors counted as flirting. But I existed near him. At breakfast, I took the same seat until everyone stopped looking 1 second away from fainting. In the library, I asked him if all the books were for reading or just intimidation. In the hall, when he passed without speaking, I said, "Good morning to you too, sunshine." He ignored me every time. Mostly because Ronan Blackwood had tells. Tiny ones. His jaw tightened when he was irritated. His left eyebrow moved when he thought I was ridiculous. His eyes lingered for a fraction too long when he thought I was not looking. And once, when I told Silas that Alpha sounded like a man who needed a nap and a snack, Ronan paused in the doorway for half a breath before continuing. Silas looked at me afterward. "You are either very brave," he said, "or very unaware." I've been called both. The alpha does not tolerate disrespect. Good thing I'm charming. Silas studied me, then shook his head like he was already preparing for my funeral. But the others started warming to me. Mrs. Vale began saving me extra biscuits. A younger man named Theo found reasons to pass the sitting room whenever I was there and ask questions about Atlanta, like I had arrived from another planet. 2 teenage girls giggled when I told them Darius once tried to deep fry a frozen turkey and nearly became a family legend for the wrong reason. Blackridge was strange, yes. Too watchful. Too quiet. Too full of people who moved like they were listening to things I could not hear. But they were not unkind. They were hungry. Not for food. For noise. For warmth. For somebody to speak in this house without fear sitting at the table too. On the 4th morning, Ronan entered the dining room later than usual. His hair was damp, his sleeves rolled, and there was a fresh scrape across one knuckle. Training, maybe. Or he fought a tree and won. He sat. I sat across from him. The room pretended not to watch us, and failed beautifully. Ronan looked at me over his coffee. Do you never tire? Of what? Talking. I considered that. No. How unfortunate. For you, maybe. He opened his folder. I leaned forward. You know, for a man everyone treats like death in boots, you're very easy to annoy. Silence dropped. Ronan's eyes lifted. For one wild second, I thought I'd gone too far. Then it happened. Barely. So small anyone else might have missed it. The corner of his mouth moved. Not a full smile. Not even half. But almost. Almost. Across the room, Mrs. Vale froze with a coffee pot in her hand. Silas stared like he had just witnessed a prophecy begin. Maeve's fingers tightened around her teacup, her eyes suddenly bright. Ronan noticed them noticing. The almost smile vanished. He stood. Every chair in the room seemed to brace itself. My office, he said, eyes on me. Now. I swallowed my bite of toast. Then I stood too, because apparently Project Make the Alpha Human had just earned its first disciplinary meeting. I followed Ronan Blackwood to his office with my toast still sitting abandoned on my plate and my dignity trying very hard to act employed. He did not look back to see if I was coming. Of course he didn't. Men like him probably assumed gravity, weather, and inconvenient women would arrange themselves behind him without being asked. His office was at the end of a corridor lined with dark portraits and windows full of Oregon forest. The room itself looked exactly like him. Severe, expensive, quiet in a way that felt less peaceful and more like a warning. A large desk sat near the windows. Maps covered one wall, marked with pins and lines. Bookshelves climbed nearly to the ceiling. There were no family photographs, no clutter, no softness anywhere. I sat in one of the chairs facing his desk. Ronan's eyes moved to me. Did I tell you to sit? No, I said, but my legs filed a complaint. His jaw tightened. I was beginning to enjoy that tiny little muscle in his cheek. It was the closest thing he had to emotional honesty. You think this is amusing, he said. I think a lot of things are amusing. You're one of them. His gaze sharpened. Blackridge is not your playground. Then stop acting like the angry principal. For a second, silence stretched between us. Not empty silence. Charged silence. His office suddenly felt smaller than it had a moment ago. Ronan stood behind his desk, broad shoulders blocking part of the window, golden brown eyes fixed on me like he was trying to decide whether I was brave or defective. Honestly, the jury was still out. You are here because my grandmother has lost all sense, he said. She seemed sharp to me. She is interfering in matters she does not understand. I folded my hands in my lap. And what exactly am I supposed to understand? His expression closed. There it was again, that door slamming shut behind his eyes. Before he could answer, someone knocked once. Enter, Ronan said. Silas stepped inside, His face was calm, but his shoulders carried tension. "The council has arrived." Ronan went still. Not like before. This was different, colder, focused. Whatever irritation I had pulled out of him disappeared, replaced by something harder and much older. "They were not expected," Ronan said. "No." "How many?" "5. Ronan's mouth flattened. "Where?" "Already inside." That tiny detail made the room change. I felt it, without understanding why. Ronan looked toward the door, and for the first time since I met him, I saw something in him that was not just rude, or wounded, or lonely. Power. Real power. The kind people did not question, unless they had already made peace with dying. "Bring them here," he said. Silas nodded. Then Ronan looked at me. "Stay." I blinked. "In here?" "Yes." "With the surprise council?" "Do not speak." "That is a lot to ask of me." "Try." The door opened again before I could argue, and 5 men entered like they owned the hallway, but were not completely sure they owned the room. They were older, dressed well, and carried themselves with the careful confidence of men used to being important. Anywhere else, they would have looked powerful. In Ronan's office, they looked like boys waiting outside the principal's door. A very murderous principal. "Alpha Blackwood," one of them said. Alpha again. Every time someone used that word, something in my stomach tugged with unease. Ronan did not offer anyone a seat. "State your purpose." One of the councilmen, gray-haired and thin-lipped, glanced at me. His eyes lingered. I lifted my chin. He looked back at Ronan. "We were not aware you had taken in a human guest." The word human hit my ears wrong. Again. Like there were other options. Ronan's voice lowered. "Her name is Asha Bennett." The councilman blinked. "I meant no insult." "Then you will have no difficulty using her name." No one moved. No one breathed too loudly. And for one strange, unsettling moment, I realized Ronan had defended me. Not warmly. Not kindly. But completely. The councilman gave a stiff nod. "Asha Bennett, then." Ronan's expression did not soften. "Continue." They spoke of borders, patrols, families, territory lines, and something called rogue activity near the southern ridge. I did not understand half of it, maybe less than half. Blackridge apparently had more going on than rich people being strange in the woods. But I understood the way they spoke to Ronan. Carefully. Measuring each word before placing it in front of him. And I understood Ronan. He did not raise his voice once. He did not need to. "Graham does not take Northern Patrol," Ronan said, after one elder suggested a rotation change. The elder frowned. "He is one of the strongest men available." "His wife is due within the month." "That should not affect." "It affects his focus," Ronan cut in. "A distracted man makes mistakes. A dead man leaves an infant without a father. He stays within 10 minutes of the infirmary until the child is born." The elder lowered his gaze. "Yes, Alpha." Ronan turned to another. "The families near Pine Hollow are still waiting on winter stores." "They refused the first delivery." "Because your messenger insulted their dead." Ronan's eyes sharpened. "Send someone with manners this time." The man swallowed. "Yes, Alpha." Then Ronan looked toward Silas, who stood by the door. "Theo is limping." My brows lifted. Theo? The sweet young man who had been asking me about Atlanta? Silas nodded once. "I saw it." "Pull him from morning duty. If he argues, tell him I will make the injury worse myself." That sounded terrible. But Silas only said, "Yes, Alpha." And somehow I understood. The threat was ugly. The concern beneath it was not. I sat there quietly, watching Ronan Blackwood dismantle 5 important men with nothing but his voice and his memory. He remembered names, pregnancies, injuries, food deliveries, Bad messengers, weak fences, missing reports. He carried all of it, every detail, every person. He did not make it soft. He did not make it pretty, but it was there. Responsibility wrapped in thorns. Then the thin-lipped elder looked at me again. With respect, he said, which usually meant disrespect, was about to put on a nice jacket. A human woman inside Blackridge creates complications. Ronan's eyes lifted slowly. The room changed again. Even I felt it this time. The air did not move, but it seemed to tighten around my throat. The elder noticed too, because his voice lost some strength. If she has overheard sensitive matters, he continued, the council has a right to know whether she is under your protection. Ronan's stare did not move from him. She is. 2 words. That was all. My heart kicked once. The elder's jaw flexed. For how long? Ronan leaned forward, both hands braced on his desk. Do you want to ask what you truly came here to ask? No one spoke. The elder's eyes flicked toward me. Ronan's voice went deadly soft. Careful. I had grown up with protective men. Malik could shut down a room with one look when somebody got too close to me. Darius had once chased a man 3 blocks for grabbing my wrist outside a club. But this was different. Ronan did not look like he was warning the elder away from insulting me. He looked like he was giving him one final chance to remain whole. The elder lowered his head. No further questions, Alpha. Good, Ronan straightened. Return when the southern reports are corrected, and next time, you will request permission before entering my territory. His territory, not property. Territory. The council left quietly. The second the door closed, I released a breath I had not realized I was holding. Ronan looked at me. You were told not to speak. I didn't. You wanted to. Painfully. His eyes narrowed, but the sharpest edge of him had dulled by a fraction. I stood slowly. Do you always talk to old men like they owe you lunch money? They are not harmless. Neither are you. No, he said. No apology. No explanation. Just the truth. I studied him then, really studied him. The hard line of his shoulders, the controlled stillness, the exhaustion hidden so deep most people probably mistook it for cruelty. You know everything about them, I said. His face closed. It is my responsibility. Pregnant wives, hurt knees, families needing food. Responsibility, he repeated. You can call it that if you want. His gaze sharpened. Do not make me into something gentler than I am. I'm not. Yes, you are. No, I said quietly. I'm seeing what's already there. That hit him. I watched it land. Not on his face exactly. Ronan was too controlled for that, but something in his eyes shifted, dark and startled, like I had reached for a locked door without knowing better. He stepped around the desk. I should have moved back. I did not. He stopped close enough that I caught the scent of cedar, rain, and something warmer beneath it. His presence filled the space between us until my pulse forgot how to behave. You should fear me, he said. I swallowed. I do, I admitted. His gaze dropped to my mouth for half a second, then returned to my eyes. But not enough, he said. Maybe because you keep doing things that make it complicated. His brow lowered. Such as? Protecting people while pretending you don't care if they breathe. His expression went cold again, but this time I saw what came before it. Pain. Fast. Buried. Still there. Leave, Asha. The words were quiet. Not angry. Worse. Guarded. So I left. In the hallway, Theo stood near the wall, trying and failing to hide the way he favored one leg. From inside the office, Ronan's voice carried through the door. Theo. Theo froze. Yes, Alpha? If you put weight on that knee before Mrs. Vale looks at it, I will assign you to inventory for a month." Theo's eyes widened. "Yes, Alpha." The door closed. Theo looked at me. Then slowly he smiled. "He noticed," he said, like that explained everything. I looked back at Ronan's office door. "Yes," I murmured. "He always does." By the 7th day at Blackridge, I had learned 3 things. 1. Mrs. Vale made biscuits so good they could convince a sinner to testify. 2. Silas had the emotional range of a locked filing cabinet, but he was somehow always nearby when I said something disrespectful about Ronan. And 3. Ronan Blackwood avoided feelings the way normal people avoided fire. After the council meeting, he kept his distance. Not rudely. Well, yes, rudely. But Ronan rudely, which meant he appeared wherever necessary, gave orders, corrected someone's entire bloodline with 1 sentence, then vanished before I could accuse him of having a human emotion. I tried not to care. That was going about as well as Darius trying not to flirt with nurses. So that afternoon, I took my phone and escaped outside. The estate grounds were beautiful in a wild, dramatic way. No neat little flower beds, no cute garden benches with inspirational quotes. Just stone paths, towering pines, wet moss, and mountains watching from a distance like they knew secrets. I walked until the mansion sat behind me, huge and dark against the trees. My phone had 1 trembling bar of service. Good enough. I called Darius. He answered on the 2nd ring. If this is not my baby sister calling to confirm she still has all her organs, I'm hanging up. I still have my organs. You hesitated. I did not. You breathed suspiciously. I smiled despite myself and leaned against a low stone wall. How's Malik? The silence on the line was small. Too small. My smile faded. He's tired, Darius said, trying to act like he isn't. You know how he gets. Yes. I knew exactly how Malik got. He would be lying in a hospital bed with wires stuck to him, telling everyone else to sit down, eat something, stop worrying, and go live their lives while he handled dying quietly, like it was an errand. My throat tightened. Tell him I said if he gives the nurses trouble, I'm flying back to embarrass him. You are already in Oregon, Darius said. That is embarrassing enough. I hate you. You love me. I did. God help me. I did. A sharp sound cut through the forest. Not a siren. Not an animal. A howl. Low. Long. Wrong. The hairs along my arms lifted. On the phone, Darius said, Ash? The estate behind me exploded into motion. People shouted. Doors opened. Men ran across the grounds with a speed that made my brain stutter. Silas's voice carried from somewhere near the house. Inside. Now. I pushed away from the wall. Darius, I have to go. What happened? Nothing. Rich people emergency. Asha. I ended the call before he could hear the second howl. This one was closer. Much closer. The forest went still. Not quiet. Still. Like every living thing had tucked itself into the earth and stopped breathing. I stepped backward, clutching my phone. Okay, I whispered. Nope, absolutely not. Something moved between the trees. At first, my mind tried to make sense of it. A dog. A very large dog. A bear with a dog problem. Then it stepped into the open, and every reasonable explanation packed a bag and left me alone with madness. It was a wolf. But not like any wolf I had ever seen on a nature documentary while half asleep on Malik's couch. This thing was massive, its shoulders nearly as high as my chest, its fur dark and matted, its mouth pulled back from teeth too long to belong in a normal world. Its eyes fixed on me. Hungry. Intelligent. My body forgot how to move. The wolf lowered its head. Then it charged. I did not scream. Not because I was brave, because terror grabbed my voice by the throat and held on. A shadow slammed into the space between us. Ronan. He appeared so fast I did not see where he came from. 1 second there was open ground. The next, he stood in front of me, black shirt pulled tight across his shoulders, golden brown eyes no longer cold. Wild. "Asha," he said, voice sharp enough to cut. "Behind me." "What is that?" "Behind me." The wolf lunged. Ronan moved. And then the world broke. His body twisted, changed, expanded. Bone cracked. Fabric tore. Darkness rolled over him like a living thing, and where Ronan Blackwood had stood, something enormous hit the ground on 4 clawed feet. A wolf. Black as midnight. Larger than the rogue. Beautiful in the most terrifying way I'd ever seen. His eyes were the same. Golden. Furious. Ronan hit the rogue before it reached me. The force of them colliding shook the ground beneath my shoes. I stumbled backward, phone slipping from my hand into the wet grass. Teeth snapped. Claws tore earth. The sounds were brutal, animal, impossible. My mind kept trying to protect me. This is not happening. This is not real. This is Oregon. Maybe Oregon does this. The rogue twisted, breaking free long enough to come at me again. Ronan caught it by the throat. There was one violent movement. Then silence. The rogue dropped. I stood frozen, both hands pressed against my stomach, staring at the impossible body on the ground and the impossible creature standing over it. Ronan turned toward me. Blood streaked his dark fur. His chest moved hard with each breath. His eyes locked on mine, and beneath all that power, I saw it. He was waiting. For me to run. For me to scream. For me to look at him like he was a monster. My knees shook so badly, I nearly sat down right there in the grass. But Bennett's did not fall apart in front of dangerous men. At least, not until we found a private room and a snack. I swallowed. "Okay," I said, voice shaking. "So either I hit my head very hard, or you are not just emotionally unavailable. You are also a werewolf." The giant black wolf stared at me. Behind him, Silas and 3 others rushed from the trees. They stopped when they saw me still standing there. Silas looked at Ronan. Ronan looked back. Something passed between them without a word. My stomach flipped. "Oh, that is creepy," I whispered. "Are y'all doing silent werewolf texting?" Ronan made a low sound. Not a growl exactly, but close enough that I shut my mouth. For 2 whole seconds. Then I noticed the blood dripping from his side. "You're hurt." The wolf's ears flattened. Silas stepped forward. "Asha, you need to return to the house. He's bleeding. He will heal. If I hear one more man with blood coming out of him say he'll heal, I'm going to commit a crime." Ronan shifted again before I finished speaking. I turned around so fast I nearly tripped over my own feet. "Nope. Warning next time. Somebody provide the man pants." There was a rustle, a quiet exchange, and then Ronan's voice came from behind me, lower and rougher than usual. "You can turn around." He stood there in torn black pants, a dark blanket thrown over one shoulder, blood running along his ribs. Human again. Mostly. His eyes were still too bright. Too gold. "You should be inside," he said. "You should be lying down." His expression hardened. "I gave you an order. And I ignored it. We both have hobbies." Silas looked like he wanted to vanish into the trees. Ronan stared at me for a long second, then swayed. Just a little. But I saw it. So did Silas. Getting Ronan into the infirmary took 3 grown werewolves, 1 furious grandmother, and me threatening to tell Mrs. Vale he was being difficult. Apparently, that threat carried weight. The infirmary was on the 1st floor, all white tile, steel cabinets, and the sharp smell of antiseptic. Ronan sat on the edge of an exam table like it had personally insulted him. Maeve stood near the door, worry carved into every line of her face. "I told you the southern border reports were wrong," Ronan said to Silas. "You can scold me after you stop bleeding," I snapped. Every head turned toward me. Right. Alpha. Scary. Untouchable. I ignored them and grabbed clean gauze from the tray. Ronan caught my wrist before I touched him. His hand was hot. Too hot. "You do not have to do this," he said. "I know." "Then why are you?" I looked at the wound, at the blood, at the tension in his body, as if he expected pain, but refused to honor it. "Because you got hurt keeping me from becoming wolf dinner." His fingers tightened for half a breath. Then he let go. I cleaned the wound with hands that only shook a little. Fine. More than a little. But I kept moving. "You know," I said, because silence would have killed me. When I asked if glaring was a medical condition, I did not expect the answer to be werewolf. Ronan said nothing. "So what do I call you now? Man? Wolfman? Alpha Fangs? Birthday Beast?" Silas made a strangled sound near the cabinet. Ronan's eyes flashed. "Keep talking," he said quietly. I stopped. "What?" His jaw tightened. "Your voice. It helps." Something inside me softened so fast it hurt. So I talked. About Atlanta traffic. About Mrs. Vale's biscuits. About Darius trying to fry a turkey and almost meeting Jesus early. About Malik teaching me to throw a punch and then apologizing to the pillow afterward because Malik Bennett could not even be mean to furniture. Ronan listened. Really listened. His breathing slowed beneath my hands. The gold in his eyes dimmed little by little until they looked almost human again. Almost. When I finished bandaging his side, I stepped back. "There," I said. "You survived my nursing." "You stayed," he said. I looked up. His voice was quiet now. Not cold, not alpha. Just Ronan. "You were afraid," he said. "Still am." "But you stayed." I shrugged, though my chest felt too full. Somebody needed help. "Most humans run from monsters." I held his gaze. "Then maybe you should stop deciding what I am before you know me." His face changed. Only slightly. But enough. Maeve inhaled softly from the doorway. Ronan looked at me like I had become more frightening than the dead rogue outside. Then he said, "There are things you need to know." I folded my arms, pretending my heart was not still trying to outrun the afternoon. "Yes," I said. "Let's start with why nobody mentioned the family dog was murder-sized." Ronan did not appreciate my family dog comment. I could tell because his expression went flat in that special way of his, the one that said he was deciding whether murder would be worth the paperwork. Silas suddenly found the medical cabinets fascinating. Maeve, however, only sighed. "She did nearly get eaten, Ronan. Allow her one joke." "One?" I said. "That feels restrictive." Ronan looked at Silas. "Secure the southern line." "No one leaves the inner grounds alone until I say otherwise." Silas nodded. "Yes, Alpha." "And find how the rogue crossed without warning." At that, Silas's face hardened. "Already underway." Maeve touched Ronan's shoulder once, light and brief, as if she was not sure he would accept even that much comfort. "I will be outside." Then she left too, taking the others with her. The infirmary door closed, and suddenly it was just me, Ronan, and the truth sitting between us with teeth. I folded my arms. "So, werewolves?" "Yes." "That's it? Just yes?" His bandaged side rose with a controlled breath. "What would you prefer?" "I don't know. A pamphlet? A warning label? Maybe one of those little museum videos with a narrator?" "You are handling this strangely." "I am handling this beautifully considering a giant wolf tried to turn me into brunch." His mouth almost moved. Almost. Then his eyes dropped to his hands. We are not myths. We are not animals pretending to be men. We are born this way, human and wolf, both. And alpha is not some rich people title. No. It means you're in charge. It means every life in Blackridge is mine to protect. There it was again. Not power first. Responsibility. I sat on the chair beside the exam table, careful not to bump his leg. And the rogue? A wolf without pack law. Some are lost, some are dangerous. This one crossed the border with intent. To get me? His gaze lifted. That was enough to answer. A cold feeling moved through my stomach. I looked toward the window, where the forest pressed dark and endless against the glass. Ronan's voice changed. I should send you home. My head snapped back. Excuse me? You have seen too much. Well, whose fault is that? I was minding my business outside like a regular unpaid nature girl. You are not safe here. I wasn't exactly safe in Atlanta either. Men with hospital bills are very dangerous to a woman's peace. He studied me too closely. I shut my mouth before my tongue gave away what my heart was trying to hide. Malik. The money. The reason I was really here. Ronan looked away first. Maeve can protect your memory. My memory? Not erase it, he said, like the distinction mattered. Shield it. Blur what cannot be known. You would remember your time here as something ordinary. I stared at him. You want to put magic fog in my brain? With your consent? Oh well, as long as the brain fog is polite. His jaw flexed. Asha. No. The word came out faster than I expected. Ronan went still. I swallowed, but I did not take it back. I made a deal. You are released from it. By you? Yes. Funny, because I don't remember making it with you. His eyes sharpened. You want to stay after what you saw? No, I said honestly. Part of me wants to go home, lock my door, and pretend Oregon is a fever dream with trees. Then go. But Bennetts don't run just because things get weird. This is more than weird. You turn into a wolf. I noticed. He leaned forward slightly. You should fear me. I do. That stopped him. My voice softened. But I'm starting to think you're more afraid of me staying than I am of what you are. His expression closed so quickly it was almost violent. Rest, he said. Bossy even while bleeding. Impressive. Asha. Fine, I'll go. I stood, then paused at the door. But for the record, if you try to sneak magic into my head, I will haunt this mansion with an attitude. This time his mouth did move. Barely. But I saw it. After that, Blackridge changed. Or maybe I did. Once you knew the handsome, emotionally constipated man in charge could become a huge black wolf, certain things made more sense. The watchful eyes, the quiet halls, the way people tilted their heads before I heard footsteps, the way no one ever seemed surprised when Ronan entered a room without making a sound. The pack stopped pretending around me. Not fully. There were still secrets tucked into corners. But the younger wolves let their eyes flash gold when they laughed. Mrs. Vale told me which doors not to open during full moons. Theo showed me his healed knee and said proudly, "Fast recovery." Like he had personally invented biology. And Ronan? Ronan started courting me. Badly. Painfully. Like a man who had read 3 instructions and hated all of them. The first attempt arrived as a thick green coat left outside my bedroom door with a note in his sharp handwriting. Oregon weather lacks discipline. Wear this. No signature. No, please. Just outerwear with authority issues. The second attempt happened in the library, where he placed a stack of books beside me. What are these? Pack history. Is this homework? You ask questions. So you brought me a syllabus? You dislike ignorance. I looked at the top book, then at him. That might be the nicest thing you've ever said to me. His brows drew together. It was not a compliment. Too late. I'm taking it. The third attempt was even worse. He found me in the kitchen making tea with Mrs. Vale and asked in front of everyone, "Did you sleep adequately?" Mrs. Vale turned away so fast I knew she was smiling. I blinked at him. Did I what? Sleep adequately. Ronan, are you asking how I slept? Yes. With the warmth of a medical intake form? His ears went a little red. I stared. He turned and left. Mrs. Vale laughed so hard she had to sit down. But he tried. That was the thing that kept getting under my skin. The man who frightened council elders and killed monsters in the woods was trying to learn how to be gentle, and somehow he made it look like combat. One night I found him in the library, long after the house had gone quiet. Rain tapped against the windows. Firelight moved across his face, softening nothing but revealing more than daylight ever did. He did not tell me everything. Ronan never gave anything freely without wrestling himself first. But piece by piece he let me see. His mother had been human. Warm, he said, and then stopped speaking for so long I thought that was all I would get. She disappeared when he was 12. Nobody. No goodbye. Just gone. His father had not survived the loss kindly. He believed love made alphas weak, Ronan said, staring into the fire. So he corrected the weakness. My stomach twisted. Corrected how? Ronan's eyes stayed on the flames. Often. I hated his father then. A man I had never met. A dead man, from the sound of it. Still, I hated him. My brothers would have fought him, I said quietly. Ronan looked at me. So I told him about Malik teaching me to change a tire before I was tall enough to see over the hood properly. About Darius threatening my 8th grade boyfriend with a plastic baseball bat. About the way our apartment was always loud, always full, always impossible to feel lonely in. I did not tell him Malik was in a hospital bed. I did not tell him I had sold my pride for a surgery deposit. The shame sat heavy in my chest, but fear sat heavier. If Ronan knew the truth, would every smile I'd given him look purchased? Would he think I'd been working him the whole time? His voice pulled me back. They protected you. They still do. You miss them. Every day. A strange look crossed his face. Not jealousy exactly, something lonelier. Then his gaze dropped away. You deserve someone closer to your life. I frowned. What does that mean? You are 25. I know my age. I was there. I am nearly 40. You keep acting like 40 is a death sentence. Ronan, my brother is 35 and still asks me where we keep the vacuum cleaner. His mouth twitched. I pointed at him. That was almost a laugh. It was not. It absolutely was. You are mistaken. You are emotionally dishonest. He stood then, and suddenly the room felt smaller. Not because I was afraid. Because I wasn't. Not in the way I should have been. He stopped in front of me, close enough for me to smell rain, cedar, and smoke in his clothes. Asha, he said, voice low. I am not easy. I noticed. I do not know how to be soft. You're learning. His eyes searched mine like he was looking for the trick, the catch, the price. Then, carefully as if the question cost him something, he asked, May I kiss you? My heart forgot its manners. Yes, I whispered. Ronan touched my face like he expected me to disappear. Then he kissed me. Not like a man claiming what had been bought. Like a man asking to be allowed inside the only warm room he had ever known. It was careful at first, restrained, devastating. Then I stepped closer, and his breath caught against my mouth. I should have told him the truth then. About the money, about Malik, about the lie waiting for us both. Instead, I put my hands against his chest and kissed him again. By the end of my second week at Blackridge, the pack had stopped pretending they were not trying to keep me. They were terrible at subtlety. Misses. Vale started leaving extra biscuits outside my door like carbohydrates could legally bind me to Oregon. Theo brought me a little wooden wolf he claimed he had carved himself, though one ear was larger than the other, and the whole thing looked mildly offended. 2 girls from the laundry room left a bundle of thick socks on my bed with a note that said, "For when Alpha forgets, humans get cold." Even Silas got involved, in his own emotionally constipated way. He found me in the hall one morning, held out a small silver whistle, and said, "If you are ever in danger, use this." I took it carefully. "Is this because of wolves?" "Yes." "Rogue wolves?" "Yes." "Regular wolves?" "Yes." "Ronan?" Silas looked at me for a long second. Then he said, "Especially if you call him birthday boy in front of the council." I laughed so hard Mrs. Vale came out of the kitchen to see what had happened. Blackridge was still strange, still full of shadows, watchful eyes, and secrets folded into the walls. But it was not cold anymore. Or maybe Ronan wasn't. Not completely. He still wore black, like color had personally betrayed him. He still corrected people with enough precision to make them question their education. He still entered rooms and made spines straighten like he had pulled invisible strings. But now, sometimes, when I said something ridiculous, he looked away too quickly. Sometimes, when I passed him in the hall, his hand brushed mine and stayed there for one extra heartbeat. Sometimes, when he thought no one was watching, Ronan Blackwood smiled. Rarely. Briefly. Like it cost him. But real. And every time he did, something dangerous happened inside me. I started forgetting I was supposed to leave. That was the cruelest part. I could remember Malik in the hospital. I could remember the money. I could remember the lie sitting between Ronan and me, waiting with patient teeth. But when Ronan stood in the library doorway and asked stiffly, "Would you like to walk with me?" like he was requesting a political treaty, my heart answered before my guilt could. "Yes," I said. "Look at you, courting like a man with internet access." His brow lowered. "I do have internet access. That makes this worse." He almost smiled. Almost was enough to ruin me. We walked beneath the trees just before dusk, staying close to the stone path, because apparently, "do not wander into wolf territory alone," was no longer a metaphor in my life. The Oregon air smelled like rain and pine. Ronan walked beside me with his hands clasped behind his back, shoulders straight, expression serious. Like romance was a battlefield, and he had forgotten his armor. "You have been quiet today," he said. I glanced at him. "You noticed." "I always notice you." My steps faltered. He said it like a fact, like the weather, like the moon hanging above the trees. I tried to joke because that was safer. "Careful, that sounded sweet." His eyes moved to mine. Was it unwelcome? There he was again. Careful. Always careful with me now. "No," I said softly. "It wasn't unwelcome." He looked ahead, jaw tight, as if my answer mattered more than he wanted it to. We reached a clearing where the trees opened to the evening sky. For a while, neither of us spoke. The silence between us did not feel like the first night anymore. It was not a wall. It was a place to stand. Ronan's voice came low. "My grandmother paid you." My whole body went still. The forest seemed to lean closer. I forced myself to breathe. "For the arrangement," I said. "Yes." He looked at me then, and there was no alpha in his eyes. No command. No storm. Only the man. "I do not want anything between us to belong to that bargain," he said. My throat tightened. "It doesn't," I whispered. His gaze searched mine like he wanted to believe me, but did not know how to trust wanting. "I need to hear you say it." The ache in my chest deepened until it almost felt like pain, because he was asking for honesty, and I had given him so much of it, just not the part that mattered most. I stepped closer. "I am here because of a deal," I said, hating every word. "But this? You and me? That wasn't bought." His breath changed. "So if you ask me to stay with you tonight," I continued, voice trembling despite my best efforts, "ask me like a man, not like an alpha, not like someone who thinks I owe him anything." Ronan stared at me. Then slowly he reached for my hand. His fingers closed around mine with such careful restraint it nearly broke me. "Asha," he said, rough and quiet, "stay with me." Not an order. Not a demand. A plea he barely knew how to make. I should have told him everything right then. Malik. The hospital. Velvet hour. The money already moving through my bank account like blood through a wound. Instead, I held his hand tighter. "Yes." Ronan closed his eyes. Just for a second. Like mercy had touched him, and he did not know how to survive it. His room looked different that night. It was the same room where I had walked in and told him that his grandmother bought me as a birthday gift. Same tall windows, same dark walls, same heavy furniture and quiet fire. But the room did not feel cold anymore. Or maybe I had changed the way I entered it. Ronan stopped just inside the door. "If this room feels wrong." "It doesn't." His eyes found mine. I smiled a little. "We can make it something else." That landed in him. I saw it. He came toward me slowly, giving me every chance to step away. I did not. When he lifted his hand, he paused before touching my face. "May I?" My heart turned over. Yes. His palm settled against my cheek, warm and broad, his thumb brushing once beneath my eye. There was a reverence in the touch that made my breath catch. Not hunger first. Wonder. Like he could not understand why I was still there. I touched his wrist. Ronan. His name was barely a whisper. He bent and kissed me. The kiss started careful. So careful it made my chest hurt. His mouth moved over mine like he was asking a question with every breath, and I answered by stepping closer, by pressing my hands against his chest, by letting him feel that I was not afraid of wanting him. A sound left him then, low and shaken. Not the alpha. Ronan. I felt it against my mouth and held on tighter. His arms came around me slowly, as if he was afraid strength alone might frighten me. But when I leaned into him, he gathered me close, his hand spreading across my back, his body shuddering once, like he had been starving for tenderness and had only just recognized the hunger. We made our way to the bed in pauses. Kisses. Breaths. Hands learning where they were welcome. Every time his fingers found the edge of clothing, he waited. Every time my breath changed, his eyes searched mine. "Tell me if I should stop," he said. "If you ask me that one more time, I'm going to think you're trying to ruin the mood." His mouth softened. A real smile. Small, stunned, beautiful. "I do not know how to do this," he admitted. The confession sat between us, raw and precious. I touched his face. "Neither do I. Not like this." His eyes darkened with understanding, and something fiercely protective moved through them. Then slowly. "Yes," I whispered. "Slowly." And he was. Ronan Blackwood, feared alpha of Blackridge, moved like patience had become a vow. He kissed my mouth, my temple, the curve of my shoulder. He let me touch him too. Let my hands learn the hard lines of him, the scars, the warmth beneath all that control. Sometimes he went still under my fingers, not from refusal, but from disbelief, as if gentle hands were more dangerous than claws. I kissed the scar near his collarbone. His breath caught. "Does it hurt?" I whispered. "No." But his voice sounded wounded anyway. So I kissed it again. His forehead lowered to mine, and for a moment we simply breathed together. No bargain, no grandmother, no counsel, no lies sharp enough to cut us open later. Just us. When the night deepened, and there was nothing left between us but skin, trust, and the truth our bodies could tell better than our mouths, Ronan held himself above me with a restraint that made my eyes burn. "You are sure," he said. It was not a question anymore. It was his last defense against hurting me. I lifted my hand to his face. "I choose you." Something broke in his expression. Or maybe something healed. The rest was slow, tender, real in a way I had never known real could be. There was a moment of newness that made me grip his shoulders, and Ronan stopped instantly, every muscle in him locked with concern. "I'm okay," I whispered. He did not move until I pulled him closer, until I said it again, until my body stopped bracing and started trusting. Then the world became warmth and breath, and his name leaving my mouth like a secret I had kept too long. Ronan answered with sounds he tried to bury against my neck, but I heard them, felt them, each one rough, unguarded, almost disbelieving. He held me like I mattered, like I was not something purchased, like I was not temporary. And for one impossible night, I let myself believe it. Afterward, I lay against him, with my cheek on his chest, listening to the heavy, steady beat of his heart. His hand moved slowly over my back, tracing careful lines, as if he was memorizing proof that I had stayed. The fire burned low. Rain tapped at the windows. Ronan kissed the top of my head. "You are quiet," he murmured. "I know. Alert the council." His chest moved beneath my cheek. A laugh. Small. Sleepy. Mine. I closed my eyes against the sting behind them. Mine. That was the dangerous word. Ronan's fingers paused on my back. "Asha?" I lifted my head. His face was softer than I had ever seen it. Unarmored. Younger somehow. Still severe. Still Ronan. But open in a way that made guilt rise up and wrap around my throat. He deserved the truth. All of it. The money. Malik. The lie. "Ronan," I began. My phone vibrated on the floor. Once. Then again. Then again. I went cold inside. No one called me that many times unless something was wrong. I slipped from his arms, grabbed the phone, and saw Darius's name filling the screen. 7 missed calls. My stomach dropped. I'd answered with shaking hands. "Darius?" "Asha," his voice cracked on my name. "Where are you?" I gripped the phone harder. "What happened?" "It's Malik. They moved the surgery up." The room tilted. I turned away from the bed, pressing one hand against my mouth. "When?" "Morning. They had a cancellation, and the neurosurgeon said this is the safest window they're going to get. They need him prepped before 6. I could barely breathe. "Is he?" "He's scared," Darius said, and that broke me more than if he had said Malik was dying. "He won't say it, but he's scared, Ash. He keeps asking when you can call." Ronan sat up behind me. "Asha." His voice was low, rough with sleep and concern. Darius went silent. "Who was that?" My heart slammed against my ribs. "No one," I said too quickly. "I mean, the family, the job. I have to go." "Asha, can you come home?" I looked back at Ronan. He was watching me, hair mussed, chest bare, eyes alert now, open, worried, trusting. The truth crowded my mouth. I should have said it. I should have told Darius to wait, told Ronan everything, asked him to understand, asked him not to hate me when he learned how I came here and why I stayed. But panic is not gentle. Panic does not give you time to be brave. "I'm coming," I whispered. Darius exhaled, like he had been holding himself together with his teeth. "Okay. Okay, baby girl. Just get here. I ended the call. For a moment, I stood there with the phone in my hand and Ronan behind me, the whole room full of everything I could lose. Asha, he said again. I turned around. I have to go home. He was out of bed instantly. Why? My brother. The words scraped out. There's an emergency. Concern sharpened his face. I will come with you. No. The answer came too fast. His expression changed. I saw the hurt before you hit it. I mean, my voice shook. You can't. It's family. It's complicated. I can arrange transport. I can handle it. Asha. The way he said my name nearly undid me. I crossed the room and kissed him once, hard and desperate. I'm sorry, I whispered against his mouth. For what? For everything. For loving you wrong. For leaving before you can see the ugliest part of me. For taking something real and making it look like a lie. I just need to go. He studied me, still too unguarded, still trying to trust me through confusion. Then I will take you to the airport. No, I stepped back. Please, just let me do this. His jaw tightened. The alpha in him wanted to argue, to command, to fix. But the man who had held me like I was precious listened. Call me when you land, he said. The kindness of it almost broke my knees. I will. Another lie. Before dawn, Ronan finally slept. Not deeply, not peacefully, but enough. I stood beside the bed fully dressed, my bag packed, my heart tearing itself apart inside my chest. He looked younger asleep, less untouchable. One hand rested on the empty side of the bed, fingers curled slightly where I'd been. I wrote the note with hands that would not stop shaking. I'm sorry. Thank you for everything. Please don't look for me. It was not enough. It was cruel. It was all I could leave without falling apart. I placed it on the pillow. Then I walked out of Ronan Blackwood's room before the sun came up, carrying his warmth on my skin and my brother's life in my hands.
Ronan's point of view.
I woke up because my wolf did. Not to sound, not to danger. Absence. The bed was cold beside me. For several seconds I did not move. Dawn had not yet fully entered the room. The windows were dark with rain, the fire reduced to a low red glow. Her scent remained in the sheets. Warm skin, the citrus soap Mrs. Vale kept in the guest rooms. Something soft that belonged only to Asha. But Asha was gone. My hand moved across the empty space where she had slept. Nothing. Then I saw the note. It rested on the pillow, folded once, my name not written anywhere because she had not needed to. There was no one else in this room who would be foolish enough to leave paper where a heart had been. I opened it. I'm sorry, thank you for everything, please don't look for me. I read it once, then again. The words did not change. My wolf rose hard inside me, all claws and panic. Find her. I stood too quickly, the room sharpening around me. Her bag was gone. The clothes she had brought from Atlanta were gone. The green coat I had left outside her door 3 days ago remained folded over the chair. She had not taken it. Something in my chest closed. I reached for my phone and called her. Once. Twice. The third time went to voicemail. Her voice answered, bright and recorded and impossible. Hey, it's Asha. If this is Darius, stop calling me from unknown numbers. If this is anybody else, leave a message. I ended the call before the tone. A message was for people who expected to be heard. I dressed without thinking. Every movement felt exact. Shirt, boots, watch. The habits of discipline returning like armor to skin that had been touched too gently the night before. When I opened the bedroom door, Silas was already in the hall. He took one look at my face and straightened. Alpha. Where is she? His eyes changed, not surprise, regret. That was enough to make my wolf snarl. Gate log says she left at 4:17, he said. Private car, human driver from Portland, no distress signal. She carried one bag. You let her leave. Silas lowered his head. She was a guest, there was no order to hold her. No order. Because I had trusted her. The thought was so viciously humiliating that for a moment I could not speak. Find the driver, I said. Already tracing the route. Airport? Most likely. She had planned well enough to leave before the house woke up, before Maeve, before Mrs. Vale, before me, and especially before me. She said her brother had an emergency, Silas said carefully. I looked at him. He stopped. No one in Blackridge survived long by mistaking my silence for invitation. Do not defend what you do not understand, I said. Silas's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Yes, Alpha. I went to Maeve's rooms. She opened the door before I knocked, hair loose over her robe, eyes already full of worry. Ronan? What did you pay her? The question hit its mark. Maeve went very still. For one useless heartbeat, some part of me wanted her to be confused, to ask what I meant, to give me one reason not to put the pieces together. But my grandmother had never been a good liar. Oh, Ronan, she whispered. The pity in her voice nearly ruined what remained of me. How much? She gripped the edge of the door. Let me explain. How much? The original arrangement was what she requested through Velvet Hour. My hands curled. Original arrangement. As if speaking like a banker could make it less obscene. And after I sent her away? I asked. Maeve closed her eyes. There it was. The blade. I offered her more to stay, she said. For 2 weeks. The hall seemed to narrow around us. For what purpose? You know why. Say it. Her eyes opened, wet now, but I had no mercy in me. Mercy belonged to the man who had slept with Asha in his arms. That man was dead. I asked her to try to get close to you, Maeve said. My wolf went silent. That was worse than rage. How much? I asked again. A great deal. Numbers, grandmother. Her mouth trembled. 160,000. I absorbed it without moving. $160,000. For her laughter at breakfast. For her questions in the library. For her hand over my wound. For I choose you. Maeve stepped toward me. Whatever happened between you was not part of my plan. No, I said, it was part of hers. She is not cruel. You do not know that. I know what I saw. I laughed once. It had no warmth in it. What did you see? A human woman who could smile while counting the hours? Maeve flinched. Do not do that. Do what? Turn her into your mother because you are bleeding. The room went cold. Maeve realized too late what she had said. I remembered another morning, another empty room. My father standing in the doorway with a bottle in his hand and hatred in his mouth. Your mother left because humans always leave when the cost gets too high. Remember that, boy. Love is a weakness that teaches others where to cut. I had spent 28 years proving him wrong by refusing to love anyone. Then Asha Bennett smiled at me like I was not a monster. And I forgot. For 2 weeks I forgot. She told me not to look for her, I said. Maeve's face crumpled. There must be a reason. Humans always have reasons. Ronan. No one says her name in my house. The command left me quietly. Maeve's tears stopped. That was the thing about alpha power. It did not need to be loud to be cruel. I turned away before I could see what it had done to her. By breakfast, the entire estate knew. Pack members did not gossip openly. Not where I could hear, but silence had a scent. Fear did too. Mrs. Vale had set 2 cups on the table in the small dining room. 1 black coffee, 1 tea with honey. I looked at the tea. Mrs. Vale followed my gaze, then reached for it with unsteady hands. "Leave it," I said. She froze. I sat at the head of the table and opened the border reports. No one spoke. No one teased. No one laughed from the kitchen. The house had been loud with Asha in it, not always in volume, in presence. She had filled empty corners without asking permission. She had made guards smile, made children brave enough to ask questions, made my grandmother hopeful enough to become reckless, made me weak enough to believe my own skin could be a home. I drank the coffee. It tasted like ash. Work came next because work always came. Rogues did not care that an alpha had been made a fool of. Patrol routes needed changing. The southern line had to be searched. The council would require a report on the breach. I gave orders for 6 straight hours. Not one word wasted. Not one feeling permitted to survive. By afternoon, 3 sentries had been reassigned, 2 border points reinforced, and the rogue's trail tracked to a dry creek bed where its scent vanished under something bitter and foreign. A masking agent. That should have held my attention. Instead, every silence between reports filled with Asha's voice. "Alpha Fangs. Birthday beast. You're emotionally dishonest." My pen snapped in my hand. Silas, standing across from my desk, looked at the broken pieces. Wisely, he said nothing. A knock came at the office door before I could dismiss him. Maeve entered without waiting. Silas inclined his head and left us. "You cannot freeze the house into forgetting her," Maeve said. "I am not trying to make the house forget." "Then what are you doing?" "What I should have done the first night, restoring order." Pain moved across her face. "She made you laugh." I looked down at the ruined pen. "Yes," I said, "that was the first warning." Maeve sat across from me as if her age had found her all at once. "I made a terrible mistake. You bought me a woman. I tried to give you a chance. You gave her a price." My grandmother had no answer for that. Neither did I. Because beneath the anger, beneath the humiliation, beneath the old wound torn open and bleeding into everything, there was a truth I hated more than all the rest. If she walked back into this room, I did not know whether I would punish her or fall to my knees. The council call came at dusk. Elder Harrow's face appeared on the screen, stern and deeply satisfied, which meant he had been waiting for my failure. "We have received word," he said, "that a human woman remained at Blackridge and left with knowledge of our existence." My fingers stilled on the desk. Maeve stood near the fireplace, her expression going sharp. "Your information travels quickly," I said. "Your security does not, apparently." Silas behind me went rigid. I did not look away from Harrow. "Choose your next words carefully." The elder's nostrils flared. Even through a screen he remembered fear. "This is not merely a pack matter," he said. "If she speaks, she will not. You cannot know that." I said nothing. Harrow leaned closer. "Bring Asha Bennett back to Blackridge. Submit her to council assessment. If memory shielding is necessary, it will be done." My wolf surged. "No." Maeve inhaled softly. Harrow's eyes narrowed. "No. No council hand touches her. She is a breach. She is mine to retrieve." The words left before I could stop them. "Mine." Silas heard. Maeve heard. Worst of all, I heard. Harrow smiled thinly. "Then retrieve her, Alpha Blackwood. You have 48 hours. If you fail, the council will send its own hunters to Atlanta." The screen went black. For a long moment, no one moved. Atlanta. The city where she had returned to whatever life had mattered more than what happened here, to whatever truth she had hidden behind jokes and soft eyes and trembling hands. Silas spoke first. Alpha. I stood. Outside the windows, the Oregon forest waited, dark and endless beneath the rain. Somewhere beyond it were highways, airports, cities, and one human woman who had asked me not to look for her. The council had made that impossible. My grandmother whispered, "Ronan, when you find her." "When I find her," I said, "I bring her back." Maeve stepped closer, and if she had a reason? I looked toward the trees. My wolf was already facing east. Then she should have trusted me with it. Silas lowered his head. "Shall I prepare the jet?" I folded Asha's note once and put it into my coat pocket where it burned like a brand. Yes. The word was calm. Everything inside me was not. Prepare the jet.
Built these walls made of stone. Through many scars I've been here alone. But when I think of you, my heart skips a beat. Afraid of the fire but drawn to the heat. How do I tell you I'm broken inside? Still my heart races when you cross my mind. I'm scared of the fall but I can't deny. You make me feel alive though I can't explain why. I never feel again, but your smile, your touch, it's under my skin. I tremble at love with shadows of fear, yet your voice is the only thing I wanna hear. How do I tell you I'm broken inside? Still my heart races when you cross my mind. I'm scared of the fall, but I can't deny. You make me feel alive, though I can't explain why. Though I can't explain when you cross my mind.